and Mark, so that you won't say it, I will also do the live transcript.
The captions, right?
Yeah.
You're a good man, Charlie Brown.
I know. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Again, glad to see you all here today. We have a little bit of a different meeting this morning. Actually, give me one more second here. Okay. So going back to my comments earlier, that we're going to do a little bit of a different meeting this morning. One is that we're going to hear from Lisa Custinelli, who is working on a really interesting project with the FCC, and want to hear from her. There's an important announcement coming out of the White House today regarding the ACP that I think you're going to want to know about. And then we have a presentation this morning regarding cybersecurity. And I want to actually devote more than just a 15-20 minute presentation, but I want to devote some time to the actual discussion about that, as well as the whole issue of cybersecurity and how we proceed with that issue. So with that, I'm going to start the meeting, and give me just 1 second. I need to see who's on here this morning. Okay, he's not here yet, but I assume he'll be here anyway. So as always, I'd like to start the meeting with thank yous to our sponsors: Care First Arizona Health, Care First Health Plan Arizona, the Satellite Broadcasters Association, United Way Valley of the Sun, Khajiit, and Triad Wireless. So again, want to thank all of you for your support. Next is to just talk about meetings that we are going to meet on the 16th and the 23rd, but no meeting on Memorial Day, which is the 30th. So just want to make sure that you all mark your calendars for that. Reminder that we do our kibitzing after this meeting. For those of you who are new, that we do have a informal discussion after this meeting is over for anybody who wants to stay online, who has some information to share, has some questions, comments, or just some general discussion. So again, you're all welcome to stay online after this meeting. And do we have any new people joining us this morning? Anybody new this morning? Going once, going twice. Okay. Okay, so with that, I want to just jump into the meeting because we have lots of stuff to talk about this morning. So first of all, just a reminder that if you haven't already, once again, I'll remind you to please complete our Google form and make sure that we have your contact information. So with that, I want to jump into the meeting, and I'm going to ask Lisa to do two things this morning. First of all is to talk about the announcement that's going to be coming out of the White House later today regarding ACP. A lot of good news if you're not aware of it already. And then secondly is to ask Lisa to also talk about the Belle Glade, Florida ACP demo project that she's working on. So with that, Lisa, I'm going to turn it over to you to first talk about the White House announcement and the ACP.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so hot off the press, I literally just got this email from Lyle Ishida. He's the outreach chair for the FCC. And I'll put the link for the fact sheet that later today, there's going to be a live announcement. The White House is creating a new URL, and it's going to be called getinternet.gov. And it's created to streamline the application process for enrollment into the ACP. What I put there is the announcement fact sheet, but the new URL will be getinternet.gov. I'll put that in a minute. It's also going to be listing information for a number of providers who have agreed to offer high-speed broadband at $30 per month. Basically, any ACP enrollee now will have zero out-of-pocket costs, because before they were actually had the $30 to just get minimum. Now they're going to have zero out-of-pocket costs. And along with that, if you look at the briefing, the White House is definitely trying to create strategy for public engagement partnerships, both for charity organizations, with different public organizations, private organizations, in an effort, as when we've been talking to them a lot, they've recognized that the more of a grassroots effort that we use to get people connected, the more success we'll have. So that's the exciting thing that's happening today. I don't know if you want to say anything more about that, Steve?
Well, just first of all, as I mentioned, the Drew Gardner, who is with, excuse me, with Common Sense, is actually going to be at that announcement today. He told me he couldn't be in this call because he's actually going to be there for that public announcement. But that's pretty exciting stuff, because we've had this discussion about, so how are people who are only going to get $30 a month going to be able to afford internet? So this is a pretty exciting announcement that the White House is stepping up to do this. Lisa, I want to take, and you're going to give us a briefing here in just a minute about Belle Glade, but would you tell people just quickly who you are and your involvement with Shaping EDU, and anything else you want to say about this announcement before we move into Belle Glade?
Okay, I'll try to make it quick on that one, because it's been a couple of years in the making. I am the innovator in residence for the Broadband Access and Equity Project for Shaping EDU, along with Steve and Mark and other collaborators. It's an initiative. Steve, perhaps you could also put the link for that, or I'll go find it. Anyone can join our meetings as well. It's on Tuesday afternoons, and it's an initiative to promote digital belonging, digital equity, basically just to get people connected to broadband. If we roll back about 2 years, I had the fortuitous event happen where I was asked, there was a webinar for Future Ready Schools with our Commissioner, Jessica Rosenworcel, where 8 people were chosen to directly ask her a question, and I got to be one of those 8 people, just out of luck. And that led to inviting her to our broadband meeting, where she explained that at that point it was the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program, and connected us up with the Chief Outreach, Lyle Ishida, who's the Chief of Outreach for the FCC, who we then also invited to a meeting, and who I got to know very well because he came to actually 2 meetings. We were talking a lot about how this would roll out, and sometimes I think the way you can understand how a project will work is, design thinking method here. You just have to test it, right? So through other work that I do with a very underserved community here in Florida, Belle Glade, where 40% of the population is below the poverty level. Most are Haitian migrants who really have just recently come over the border. That part of Florida is where we have the sugarcane fields, and they come and they work in the sugarcane fields. Some end up staying, some leave. So I approached a community leader in that area of Belle Glade. His name is Marana Saint Hilaire. He happens to be the pastor of the Haitian Baptist Church, which, as you can imagine, for the Haitian migrants is basically the community center. In his role, he's connected to the mayor, the city commissioners, media specialists, all the broadband companies. You know, he is the rock of the community. So I asked him if I could try to roll out what I learned from Lyle Ishida, who's the FCC chair, this what they call the supermarket project. So this had been done in Hawaii, basically, where, if you know, when you walk into a supermarket and somebody's sitting there behind a desk and signing you up for something, they found that that was a good way to get people in and get people connected. So after many meetings with Marana and his key people who he has chosen as leaders, that we will, instead of calling them leaders, we're going to call them digital navigators, because that's what they are and that's what Marana is. We were able to attend several train the trainer meetings with the FCC. Steve was in attendance. Cindy Hogan here was there too. And basically, it's a training for local leaders of how to get their community signed up with the ACP. So after many meetings and trainings, we're actually launching the project this Saturday, May 14th. Lyle Ishida of the FCC is flying in from DC to attend it, because he had already recognized the project on a White House briefing several months ago, because the commissioner, she was very interested in what we're doing because it is a true grassroots effort. So he's flying in for the event, and we're holding an event at that Haitian Baptist Church. We're going to have tents. They're giving out food and clothing to get the people to come. And we had another meeting, Steve, last night. I had a meeting with the digital navigators in Marana, and we decided that a lot of the locals have to work on Saturdays. So we're going to do it actually not a one-day event. We changed it to a two-day event, Saturday and Sunday. We're hoping to get 300 plus people signed up for ACP. And then we will continue on. We're going to continue on with probably a Facebook Live, as well as we're going to continue probably some more weekend signups throughout the summer. So, and we're hoping, as far to circle back to ASU and Shaping EDU, I've basically written up a detailed timeline of events since March 2021, when I met with Jessica Rosenworcel the very first time, of how we arrived to this today, and hopefully we can help other communities copy this prototype and do the same.
Hey, any questions for Lisa? She's done phenomenal work with this and developed an awesome relationship with the FCC and with Lyle. Any questions or comments? Well, hearing none, then I guess we're moving on. So let's start with well, just a reminder that the Arizona Technology Council Cybersecurity Summit is this week, Thursday, May 12th. Mark, I haven't seen if Carla is online or not. Mark, do you want to say anything about that?
Sure. I think this is the 10th year. I'm going to post a link in the chat. I wasn't prepared for that. I'll go get that. And it's really a very good kind of half-day event. It will be live only at a place called Venue 8600 in relatively North Scottsdale. It's not a hybrid event for the first time. Actually, a little disappointing to me. I would probably take it remote, but not live. I'll post a link, and those of you who are actually ATIC board members can register as tech council members at the lower price. I helped Henry get that, and Daryl Emerson created a ATIC discount code to enable that. So I will go get the link and post it.
Okay. Any questions for Mark? Who is anybody planning to attend that? I'm planning to be there. Anybody else planning to be there?
I will. Henry.
Henry? Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm going to be there too.
And who was that?
Jerry.
Jerry? That's what, yeah, Jerry, I knew you were going to be there. Anybody else going?
I need to see more about it, if it's, to see if we need to be involved. If we are, then we'll be there.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I might be. I'm trying to get down for it. Not sure yet.
Okay, Kirk. Okay, so moving on, let's start with our updates. I don't see our presenter yet this morning. Hopefully he'll be here today. And Jeff, are you here? Okay. Okay, we have people missing this morning. Sandeep, are you online? I didn't look. Nope, he's not here. Oh yeah, there he is. Sandeep, are you online?
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Sandeep. Do you have anything? I don't know, Jeff, if Jeff's going to make it this morning. Do you have anything? I'm sorry.
Jeff won't be. I don't have anything specific, but I just wanted to share a quick update with everyone here.
Yes.
Jeff is in DC this morning. He flew last night. There is a broadband update coming from White House, probably today around 10:30 local time. I cannot give any more specific than that, but expect some updates this morning from White House. And Jeff is there. We will have more updates in coming days.
Yeah, we actually.
Right, we
Sandeep,
did just scoop them. We did just scoop that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so we just did an announcement about that. Anything else? What's the latest on the grants and grant announcements?
Our evaluators are still actively working on it. The timeline here is June 30th. By June 30th, we'll be, I think on June 30th, we'll announce the recipient of the grants.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
No, sir, that's pretty much all I have today.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank
Mala,
you.
are you still there?
Steve,
Yes,
really
I am.
quick,
I'm sorry,
Hold on.
Sharika.
just really quick, I just got an email from Ryan from NTA about the 11 o'clock announcement, and they're setting up a Zoom, 11 o'clock Eastern time. So I just got that right now from the
Okay.
NTA. FYI.
Sharika, would you be able to post that Zoom link? I'm waiting to get a Zoom link, but everyone is busy. So if I don't get it, probably I can use that one.
Sure can.
Okay, moving on. Mala, are you still online?
Yes, I am.
I know you gotta
and-
go, but can you do a briefing before you
And
go?
real quick, I'm so excited about President Biden's announcement of the service. The service providers actually, in the announcement, it says they were not coerced to do this. They did it on their own. So there was no deal stuck or anything like that. And they're offering the $30 internet fee for low-income households. There's nothing in the announcement that says what the speeds will be. So that answers your question, Rory. We'll wait for the announcement to see if there are more details. And also about the devices, So we're waiting to hear both, because the ACP does offer devices at a copay between $10 and $50. So we're waiting to see if there is any announcement about that as well. So that is the exciting part of the news. the not so good part of the news is that ACP last week was, we had only 900 households, 900 plus households sign up, less than 1,000 households. Normally we are averaging about 4,000 to 5,000 households a week. So that hopefully this announcement will stir up more applicants to apply for the ACP. We're still working hard on the E-rate bidding portal. That's got everyone united against FCC's bid to put the bidding, make a new bidding portal for E-rate. And I've talked in previous meetings about this, so I'm not going to belabor that, but we are working on making sure that this does not go through. We don't want another portal for bidding, and there hasn't been that big fraud and abuse of the program with the bids that this is going to stop. So the other significant piece of news that I had shared last time that we're still working on is that the OMB has announced the Build America, Buy America guidelines. So that's going to really, hit the supply chain even more, because we're really not geared yet, to Buy America. To be the 55% of all the cost of the components that are being used in any federal grant should be made in the USA, and it should be assembled in the USA according to the guidelines. And that goes for the IIJA funds as well as anything else that we're getting federal monies for. So we're really seriously considering all the repercussions of this in the meetings that we've had so far. So other than that, I don't have any other announcements. Last time I spoke about the NDIA having their accepting letters of intent for the Navigator project, that the deadline is May 20th for that. Other than that, back to you, Steve. I don't have any other announcements.
So Mala, do we know, is anybody here in Arizona going to apply for that Navigator grant?
I don't know as of yet, but I'm waiting to hear. Is Nicole online?
Yes.
Nicole, do you know if anyone's applying for it?
Well, I can say that there's been a lot of interest, and I've heard from people who are interested in setting up Navigator programs locally, but that's probably all I can say.
Right.
Okay.
Closer to the date, maybe we'll know.
Can you
We'll
post
see
some
who reaches
information
out.
on that Navigator program? I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I can put the link in the chat as soon as I'm
Thank you.
done talking.
If I'm not mistaken, Nicole, they're only going to fund, what, 10 projects?
Yes, I think so.
Yep,
Right,
something like
Nicole?
that. A minimum of 6 have to be serving tribal communities, and then the others are to serve rural communities.
Okay. Okay, anything else, Mala?
No, back to you, Steve. Thanks.
Okay. Holly, are you online?
I am, but I don't have anything to add either, Steve. Thank you.
Okay, so Cindy dropped off because she is going to listen to the White House presentation this morning. And I'm assuming that it'll be recorded, and those of you who are on this call and can't be on that call will be able to get the information. And so, Nicole, do you have anything that you want to announce regarding cyber, regarding digital
I'm going
inclusion?
to be, and I'm going to be dropping off too, but I just wanted to say, since we were talking about ACP outreach and sign up efforts, we have our ongoing effort here in Arizona in partnership with Common Sense Media, and of course, Cindy's help and others here through our Connect Arizona initiative with our digital navigators. But we've got a lot of I guess good stories, but we've got unfortunately more frustrating stories from people getting signed up. There's been some confusion with people being automatically disenrolled when they are getting Lifeline devices. But really what we're finding is the frontline staff at these major service providers are not being informed or educated or trained on the discount program. And it's been quite the confusing process. And actually last week we found out that Cox Communication, at least here in the Southwest, are sending people to our Connect Arizona Digital Navigators program when those staff members don't know the answer, don't really know what they're doing, and it's sort of created a funny feedback loop. So we are getting calls from Nevada and California. So I've got to figure out who with Cox Communication is putting our number out there, because obviously we don't have capacity to be their tech support hotline. But that is my fear with this new program. While it's really amazing and definitely needed, the on-the-ground reality of getting people connected and signed up is going to be pretty challenging. So that this is a win, but we have to make sure that we still have those important navigators who are going to help people, actually be their advocate on the inside, because it's the truth is it's pretty frustrating process for a lot of our callers.
Nicole, we've had a lot of success in making sure that our sales team is very educated, and we simply haven't run into that with our customers. But it would be nice if you have a resource that we might be able to share, or you might be able to share, that would give the details on what is specifically folks need to know and understand to properly educate the customer.
Sure. Yep. That'd be great.
So Nicole, you
If you
actually
guys-
have on the website a packet of information, if I'm not mistaken.
We get the
If
link
you
to
guys-
that?
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
May
can
I
post
may
that.
I ask to interrupt for a moment? Have you guys worked with Mylan or Wes on integrating this also with their Final Mile broadband project?
That'd be wonderful. So we essentially have outreach material, and we have some train the trainer material for people who are trying to sign up their communities. So that would be great stuff to share out. And we're working on updating that, and now with the recent announcement, we'll update it yet again.
Yeah, Mylan is aware, and he is working with schools and with with the Last Mile project on ACP, and that he has access to the resources on Connect Arizona. So.
Because we've launched 7 towns. I know there's 2 or 3 more that are going out there, and this would fall right under that same scope.
Yes.
That we would just add a program for this.
Yes, yeah, that would be great, because all of the material that Nicole is talking about is available on Connect Arizona in Spanish and in English. The flyers and
Okay, I'll let him. I'll kind of ping him and see what he's doing. Thank you.
And Rory, if you need additional information, you can certainly contact either Cindy or Nicole. Both of them are pretty familiar with all of this information. And as Mala mentioned, that we also have information on their Arizona Connect website.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest issues may honestly be that, see, the Lifeline program is so restrictive on making sure that customers are not double dipping. And it sounds like there may be some confusion with folks thinking that because somebody was receiving internet services on their phone, that they may not be able to receive internet services through another mechanism. And that truly might be the crux of the matter, is just a lack of understanding of that these programs overlap and that they're not mutually exclusive. So I think if that might be the focus for some of the carriers, it might really help them to not inappropriately remove services from customers.
Well, the one thing I continue to ask is finding out where these problem areas are, because we have rapid deployment capability, and we're more than willing to make that investment if we're familiar with the areas. So this may help that.
Agreed.
Okay, let's move on because I do want to get to our presentation. I saw Ryan has joined us this morning. Janet is not here. Mala, are you still here? You gone?
I'm here.
So do you want to say anything about the telehealth and libraries project, or I don't know if you have anything more to report?
Nothing significant, except that we tested the equipment, especially to see the major problem that we were trying to address was security and HIPAA issues, and to make sure that none of the data is retained in the transmission from patient to the service provider to the doctors. And we tested the equipment out. We really decided not to go in with tablets, but to use laptops instead, because then we can get it, get it not to retain, not only not retain the data, but the software that is used for transmission is significantly dubbed down for the laptop, much to our delight, actually, because we really didn't want it to ask all the questions that it was asking of the patients, their date of birth and stuff like that. We didn't know where it's going to retain that, even if we wiped it out. And we were not really happy with having to wipe it out between patients, to have a staff available to go in and wipe out all the information. So the laptop version of it, the OS does not retain any of that data, and it does not even ask for those kinds of data. So that's great. We tried the transmission between a service provider and a patient. It worked really well. They could not only hear the heartbeats while they were testing with the stethoscope, but they were also able to listen to the they were also able to read the transcription of it. So all of that is going on. We're planning for a soft launch in June, middle of June, and a bigger event closer to September. September 30th is the grant deadline. We want to be able to have data to report. That's why we're doing a soft launch by June. So we will have enough, at least 2-3 months of data to report. That's all I have right now.
Okay, let's move on because I do want to spend some time with Ryan this morning regarding cybersecurity. Leah's not here. Derek, I see you're online. Any updates?
I am online, Steve. No, nothing new. The highways project is moving along as reported previously. Yeah, I'm happy to move on to Ryan's presentation.
Okay. I don't think Wes is here and Mylan's not here. Rory, do you have any other information about the Final Mile project? Rory, are you still here? Okay, guess not. Okay, so let's move on. I'm pleased to introduce this morning, excuse me, Ryan Murray, who is the Deputy Director, Deputy State Chief Information Officer for Arizona Department of Homeland Security. I had a great conversation with Ryan last week about how we might be able to collaborate. And it was really important that we heard from him about what their plans are, and then to explore more about cybersecurity, and particularly as we move ahead with connecting people, giving them all these devices and internet, of how we're working on securing all these digital inclusion initiatives. So with that, Ryan, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to stop sharing. I don't know if you have a presentation or not, but I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So thanks for the introduction, Steve. Appreciate it. Good to meet everyone. So short version, I don't have a presentation. I could throw up some slides, but really it's easy to just kind of talk through it, and I can share out any information that we talk about afterward. But the short version is we're looking to provide additional cybersecurity resources to both state agencies and local municipalities in the very near future, including our K through 12 school districts. Obviously, targeting the majority of these are going to be in our rural or underserved populations. So it made a lot of sense to tie this into the existing conversation that you guys are having around digital inclusion and pushing broadband out to the more rural communities. So how we're doing this today is essentially we have a Homeland Security grant program that's providing all the cybersecurity tools that we use here at the state out to multiple local jurisdictions and municipalities. So how that's working is essentially we apply, the municipalities apply for the Homeland Security grant dollars. They're MOU'd back to the state in order to purchase the licenses and tools. And then we use the buying power and the enterprise capabilities of the state to buy those licenses at a much cheaper discounted price than any of those municipalities could be getting themselves. We're looking to significantly expand this program in this coming fiscal year, starting July 1st. The executive, Governor Ducey's office, has devoted a significant number of dollars to this program to infuse it, make it significantly larger. And we're also looking to tap into some of the infrastructure bill money that's going to be coming down the pipe later this year. So essentially, all told, we're looking to provide all of these tools to all local municipalities and K through 12 school districts across the state of Arizona, and essentially help them to boost up their cyber capabilities. I know a lot of these broadband initiatives are looking to provide capabilities to the citizens, which is something that we're also looking to do, not necessarily as part of this program. However, we are taking some direction from, I think some of you may have actually been involved in the Arizona cybersecurity team a few years ago that Governor Ducey's office started up, looking to gather feedback and recommendations about how to provide a more cyber secure environment across the state, not just for state agencies or municipalities, but for all the citizens of Arizona. So as part of those recommendations, one of the ideas was to build up this speakers bureau as well as a central location for all people within the state of Arizona, whether they are businesses, citizens, educators and students, and everyone else across the gamut, just to have a central location where they can go to get cybersecurity information and protect themselves. So as part of that, we're looking to reach out to these organizations and to these citizens as they start to become part of the digital economy, so to speak, as broadband gets pushed further and further out into the rural communities, to help them understand what it means to be a cyber safe citizen, what it means to participate in this digital economy, et cetera. So all those things kind of combine to how we're looking to see how we can participate in this program and see what we might be able to do to assist the stakeholders from a cyber perspective. So with that, happy to take any questions or if anyone has any thoughts or comments about the idea, and happy to discuss.
So Ryan, you already have a relationship and initiative going on with the Arizona Department of Education. Can you talk a little more about what's happening with that at this point?
Yeah, for sure. So through their Office of Digital Teaching and Learning, which is one of the offices at the Department of Education that's really focused on getting that digital teaching capability out there to the school districts, especially those more rural or less connected environments. We're looking to partner with them to essentially make sure that those are the ones that we are prioritizing and targeting with these cybersecurity tools and this cyber education. So we can make sure that, one, we're tying into some of their curriculum, because we found that a lot of the workforce development side of things, the curriculum taught in whether elementary school or high school or even at the college level is not really preparing our workforce to be efficient cyber professionals once they graduate either from high school or the universities. So we're trying to help them put together a better curriculum around that, but also helping the school districts themselves to protect themselves, because we found that recently a lot of the cyber attacks are targeting these let's say less defended or less fortunate school districts that don't really have the capabilities or the staff to protect themselves from nation state actors. So we're trying to work with them to make sure that they've got the best in breed tools that we're using here at the state and that they know how to use them. So again, working with Department of Education to understand who are those that are out there that really need the most help, what is the greatest need, what is the greatest interest, and where's the biggest impact that we can help reduce risk across the state.
Okay. So Mala, you're online still, and I know you're going to have to leave, but you and I had a brief conversation the other day about the needs for libraries.
Right. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk to Ryan. You know, what we are looking for is that E-rate supports cybersecurity. Right now, you know, it's not one of the eligible services, but it is such a big necessity. And we've been fighting this for the last 4 or 5 years, trying to convince FCC. Every year they update the eligible services list. And every year around this time until September, there is a hue and cry about it. And then when we look at what FCC has put forth, we don't see that this is eligible. So the libraries and schools are having to pay out of pocket to be safe and secure. And there have been a number of incidents, even more incidents, significantly more than any fraud or abuse as far as bidding portals are concerned. Yeah. So I really wish, you know, we could influence FCC on the need to support it. I wouldn't say this if there was no funds available, but we see that FCC actually rolls over funds every 2-3 years of unused or underutilized amounts that have been committed but not used. And they have to wait for 2 or 3 years to make sure that those commitments are not going to be used before they can turn it over. And when that happens, we really wish that FCC would use it for this particular service and make it eligible.
Yeah, for sure. And this is something, so we looked into whether E-rate could help participate or augment some of these services that we're looking to provide. But obviously there's that specific carve out or caveat for technology services. And I know some entities have tried to be creative and say that that does cover cybersecurity capabilities, but I know E-rate has been pretty strict about allowing what those projects are that can be covered by E-rate and really focusing on keeping it to technology specifically. So we recognize that this is a gap, and it's something that we're absolutely looking to attempt to fill. And we're trying to make this as easy as possible for those resources at those school districts. And as you mentioned, libraries, because we're looking to cover county services as well. So it's something that we absolutely recognize as a gap, and we're trying to make this and take all the headache out of this for them to be able to just say, here you go for free from the state. Here's the tools that you need to be able to protect yourself.
So Ryan, obviously, at least I think that libraries would be, since you're looking at local governments, so to speak, that libraries would fall under that program. But it sounds like you haven't really done anything regarding libraries at this point. Am I correct?
No, so that's a great point. So absolutely, they would be covered if they are a city or a county asset. They would absolutely be covered as part of this program. But we haven't done any specific outreach to the library districts or to the library departments.
So Mala, it sounds like you and our Holly should, excuse me, that you and our Holly should touch base with Ryan and talk about the libraries and how you might be able to relate to them. So the other piece, Ryan, I'm sorry. So Ryan, so the other thing that you and I had a conversation about was the issue of nonprofit organizations. And at this point, I don't think you're really focused on nonprofits, and actually some of our people, well, Sharika, you're online, and Debbie, you're online, about the issue of nonprofits and how they are going to be able to also support as we, again, roll out all this connectivity and devices for people about how we can do that. And it's actually was much of a much broader conversation that you and I had about the needs for small businesses out there. And just, I mean, it's just a whole range of cybersecurity needs out there, and understanding where you guys might play, where we can partner with you and so forth, to really have a broader discussion about where we go with cybersecurity in the state.
Yeah, and just to make sure that that point is clear, we are only talking about currently supporting government entities, right? So whether that's at the state level, the local level, or the county level, we don't have the ability to provide support or services to private businesses, whether profit or nonprofit. But we absolutely understand that there's a gap there, and we've tried to build that into our education piece. So knowing that we're going out there and talking to organizations about how they can, support themselves, or what are some of the best practices, what are some of the free resources that they can take advantage of. We're also trying to point them at the Arizona Small Business Association, which has some services that they can provide. But unfortunately, there's just nothing that we can do. And frankly, I know a lot of businesses don't want government mucking around in their stuff. So it's something it's sort of a difficult conversation to have, where we know that these small businesses are getting hit. We've had multiple calls to our cyber command center, essentially saying, "Hey, I run a small business. I got hit with ransomware. Is there anything that you can do?" And we've essentially just had to play sort of the telephone game between us and other law enforcement entities to ensure that they're getting connected with the right people. But we can't really provide them defensive capabilities or response capabilities unless, and this is where there's sort of a caveat here, is that if they are supporting critical infrastructure, say water or power, we do have a little bit more purview there, and that we can assist in putting them in contact with our National Guard team, which can go out and do some amount of response effort, but the businesses have to request that. So we can't just say, "Hey, the National Guard's going to roll in there and help you out," because obviously that looks really bad. But if they do support critical infrastructure, if they do have a cyber incident that is impacting their ability to provide those critical services, then the National Guard team can potentially assist.
So a couple of quick things, Paul, I'll be back to you in a minute. I see your hand is raised. And Holly, I see you're online, and I don't know if we can just do a quick intro. Holly is the director of the State Library. And so you guys should probably connect. But I owe an apology to the folks at the State Department of Education, Kelly and Sophia. I skipped right over you guys and want to come back to you in just a little bit. So I do apologize that we did that. So Paul, you had a question or comment?
Yes, so in your discussions with the Department of Education, what sort of criteria are you looking at to qualify schools for the program? And secondly, are you considering public schools, private schools, charter schools, so that way it really truly is all of education and not just one sector?
So related to
really
that, universities and community colleges too?
Yeah, really good question. So short version is currently only looking at public sector schools, not private and charter. Depending on what the potential involvement is, we may be able to reach out and provide some assistance to some of those public charter schools. But that's obviously up for some discussion and debate, depending on what sort of funding we get, what sort of interest we get from all the public schools. But realistically, those public schools are the ones that we're looking to protect first. We are not looking at higher education right now, whether community colleges or the public universities, partly because those public universities do have a ton of money and have massive cyber programs already. But also just they weren't specifically called out as part of the existing funding that we're looking to provide to support those public sector K through 12 entities. Especially just because those are the ones that really seem to have the most struggle, right? The community colleges, they do have some amount of support and some amount of capabilities, and the public universities absolutely do. And then to your other question, how are we prioritizing and what are the criteria for selection? Ideally, we'd be able to support all of those public education institutions, all the K through 12s across the entire state. However, knowing that we don't have infinite money, and that's likely what it's going to take to cover all of those, we're looking at sort of a Venn diagram of three specific things. What is the greatest risk? So, where are the most users? Where's the most sensitive data? What are those with least capabilities, right, to protect themselves? Where's the greatest need? So where are those organizations or entities that don't have the ability to support?
Mama,
Sorry, was there a question?
please mute. I'm sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, sorry. And then the third thing is those that have the greatest interest. We've been running this program now on a smaller scale for about 3 years. This will be our 4th year. And we've been under provisioned on all of our tools every single year. So trying to get out there and do the marketing, do the pitch to why this is important for people to take advantage of. So prioritizing those that are really interested in trying to get this off the ground. So trying to find that sort of Venn diagram of those with the greatest risk, those with the greatest need, and those with the greatest interest, that sweet spot is going to be sort of where we start prioritizing and reaching out to those organizations. Working very closely with the Department of Education, again, to try to figure out who those are, and then again, starting to target them with our messaging and our understanding of what this is going to take for them to get this stuff deployed.
Okay.
So if a school is interested, who is their primary point of contact for it?
Yeah, so they can either reach out through the Office of Digital Teaching and Learning at the Department of Education. They can reach out to me, and I'll put my contact info in the chat. Or we also have a grant program task force email address and website that anyone can go to sign up. They just fill out a form, express their interest, give a little bit of information about their environment, like how many users they have, how many workstations they have, that sort of thing. And then we'll reach out to them and let them know that we've gathered their information and that we're starting to put together what that program plan might look like for them. And I'll put all that information in the chat for you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Okay. And so Holly, I just wanted to make sure that you had also, Holly is, as I mentioned, is the director of the State Library. And so Holly, I don't know if you want to say anything or have any comments other than what Mala's already said.
Not really, but just very happy to have the opportunity to meet you virtually this morning, Ryan. And you said you're going to post your contact information. So Mala and I will follow up and see how we might work together to get information out to libraries. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. Good to meet you too.
So Kelly, do you have anything, you may have some other things, but do you have anything related to this that you want to talk about? And again, I apologize. I just skipped right over you guys.
That's okay. We had important business to get to. So first, thanks to Ryan for joining us this morning. Ryan has been an incredible partner for us. He has joined us with some of our technology town hall meetings where we are gathering IT professionals from the K-12 settings, which has been really helpful. We've gotten some great feedback. And I did want to speak to one question from Debbie. She had asked here, who's going to teach the content for the curriculum and the programs to the students? And I just want to say that this is still very much the exploratory and discovery phase and design. So all of these things are TBD. Right now, we are trying to gather the information and get the details out to the schools and find out from them, just as Ryan said, the biggest need. And we are getting a lot of details, and the feedback so far definitely has been that the teachers and the people who are spending time with the students need that training so that the students have the information, just as Ryan spoke about, so that when students are done, they have this literacy as well. And I think that would be it for my update. And I am Kelly, by the way, from the Office of Digital Teaching and Learning. I always forget to introduce myself with the Department of Education here in Arizona.
Okay.
Good to see you again, Kelly.
Thanks, Ryan.
So Ryan, when you and I talked that we kicked around the idea, we didn't make any firm commitments or anything about having an Arizona cybersecurity alliance of some kind. And I sent you some information about some work we did. I don't know if you've had a chance. I know you're busy, but would like to pursue that and to see if we can collaborate together to expand. I mean, I understood what you just said about where your focus and priorities are at this point. But again, as we move ahead, we've got a lot of our nonprofit organizations who are working with people, getting people connected. We talked about small businesses and so forth, about how we might pursue perhaps some grants or partnerships with folks like Paul and the folks at Pima College and many others who are working in the cybersecurity space, and see if we can come up with a broader strategy. You know, I understand we can't do everything at once, but as we heard this morning with as rolling out all this stuff here, that we've got some serious holes in our security here, not just here in the state, but nationally. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, so absolutely happy to participate in whatever way makes sense with this group, or helping to put together a broader group. Definitely let me know whatever we can do to assist.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Ryan? Well, so this is actually, from my perspective,
there's a question for him
I'm sorry.
in the chat.
Who had
There's
a
a
question?
question. I think Oris had a question for him in the chat.
Okay, Oris.
Yeah, sorry, before
I believe Ryan answered that question in the chat.
Yes,
he says, absolutely, we already do cover all state agencies, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, sir. So if there's
Sorry.
information that you'd like to hear about supporting state agencies, whether it's part of the state library program, definitely feel free to reach out to me, and we'll make sure that that you've got all the information you need to see if the agencies are participating or if those libraries are participating.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ryan? So before we end, I want to do two things. One, Kelly, is to circle back to you about anything else that, and Sophia, I don't know if you're still online, that you or Sophia have anything that you guys want to add to what you've already talked about. And then I want to continue some discussion about cybersecurity in just a minute. But Kelly?
No, this is the big thing. Right now, there's a lot of traction with this. Ryan is quite a popular guy with the K-12s, and he's been really responsive, and this is great. We're excited about it. So we are really trying to dig in and move on this. We did do some visits last week to schools throughout the Navajo Nation, which was great, and might have some potential candidates from that visit for these programs. And we're just, plugging ahead, moving forward with this and all things digital learning and teaching. And really, I have no other announcement.
Okay. So I saw in your newsletter that you actually are putting up a bunch of resources regarding cybersecurity.
Yes, yeah. Our last newsletter had a lot of resources, most of which came from Ryan. So thanks to Ryan for that. And some new potential resources as well with the K-12-6, which was in that newsletter, which is an interesting opportunity, a possible option for schools, which is an organization, a nonprofit that is membership based, where there are some free resources that we put out towards schools, in addition to a lot of details from Ryan as well. So we're really trying to get information to help people protect themselves in the K-12 setting, and trying to get that out in front of the schools so they have resources, because we know how busy they are, especially after this visit we did last week to about 5 schools. We saw firsthand what goes on a daily basis, and how administrators, teachers, staff are really pulled in a lot of different directions. So anything we can do to try to remove some of the legwork in finding these resources is great. So again, thank you to Ryan Murray. I mean, it just has been phenomenal. Thank you.
Super.
You're too kind, Kelly. You guys put all the work into it. So I just hand you stuff and then you send it out to everyone. So you're the one doing all the hard work.
Hardly, but thank you.
Okay. Mauricio, you have your hand up.
Yes, good morning, and thank you, Ryan, for joining us. My question is there like another state or another area where they have like best practices that maybe we could do a little bit of research on and some of the lessons learned?
So do you mean specifically around providing grant resources to local municipalities, or just cybersecurity best practices in general?
yeah, cybersecurity is the work that you're trying to do here in Arizona, basically.
Okay, so a little bit of both then. The grant program we're looking to do is really unprecedented across the nation. No one else has done anything like this. There are a few states that are looking to do some similar whole of state cyber approaches that we're working very closely with to make sure that we're sort of learning each other's lessons and not having to recreate the wheel every time. North Carolina is doing something very similar. Oklahoma has a very similar program. The Dakotas are doing something kind of similar. But again, this is all really unprecedented sort of across the nation right now. And fortunately, we've kind of taken the lead, or unfortunately, because we're kind of having to invent it ourselves, right? But absolutely, we're working with our other state partners. In fact, this past week, I was actually back in DC at a conference for all national state CIOs and CISOs discussing this very topic. So with the infrastructure bill money coming down the pipe, specifically looking to support cybersecurity across the local and rural communities, a lot of people are having this conversation about how they're going to utilize both that money and other programs within their states. So yeah, we're definitely keeping abreast of everything that's going on across the nation and trying to work with each other to make sure we're not having to have failures across the states without learning those lessons.
Ryan, do you think, this is Lori, Ryan, do you think that there might be a possibility of grants for cybersecurity for service providers, direct to service providers, whether private or public?
That's a very good question. I know there was other stuff in the infrastructure bill that specifically targeted like energy sector, communication sector, the transportation sector. So there's definitely other money out there for the infrastructure bill that might be able to go towards public or private sector entities that are helping to support those efforts. I can dig up, I believe I got a slide deck from one of our partners that talked about sort of all of that menu of grant money that's coming down through the infrastructure bill and where it's coming from and what sectors it's targeting. I'll see if I can dig that up and I'll send it out to Steve to pass to the community. That way you guys can take a look and see if there's anything that might make sense.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
I'm sorry. So Ryan, part of the issue for me, when we've had some discussions already about the fact that when communities are doing their planning for connectivity and grants and so forth, that they really haven't been including digital inclusion. And so the same thing is probably true in terms of cybersecurity. And so making sure that, and this is probably a conversation we need to have with Jeff, and I don't know if Sandeep is still online, but as we start giving out all these grants, and it's true at the federal level as well as at the state level, that we need to make sure that cybersecurity is really included as a part of the overall discussion about digital inclusion. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, or if we can perhaps facilitate some discussion with you and Jeff and others about how do we make sure that cybersecurity gets included in funding.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's something that we can't talk about one without having the conversation about the other, right? Because if we're deploying or pushing technology or digital inclusion across the nation and not talking about how do we secure that technology or how do we secure those people that are using it, it's just going to cause more risk and more harm than good, right? So I think we definitely need to make sure that we're having those conversations together.
Well, and the state is going to be receiving funding for planning. Aaron, are you on the call? Are you still here? So the state is going to receive a good chunk of money to do digital inclusion planning. And it seems to me as we move ahead with that process that we need to make sure that you and or others in the cybersecurity space are included as a part of that process.
Yeah, indeed. And again, happy to participate in whatever way makes sense. As part of the infrastructure bill requirements for the cybersecurity side for the state and local governments, we're actually required to put together a planning committee that's made up of state entities, local entities, rural communities, K-12 entities, sort of across the board, tribal entities. So that way that we can make sure that one, everyone understands where this money is going, and two, everyone is agreeing that that's the best place to put it. So I don't know if there's similar requirements in other parts of the infrastructure bill to put together planning committees like that. But specifically for the cybersecurity for state and local governments, that's absolutely in there. And I think it makes sense to combine those conversations.
Okay.
Ryan, can I ask a quick question?
Yep,
You're talking about the bigger planning committee for the digital equity plan, or are you talking specifically about a cybersecurity committee with all those parts you just mentioned?
Specifically, there is a requirement for the state and local grant money from the infrastructure bill to build a cybersecurity planning committee that is made up of all of those entities. Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, I haven't heard that before, have we? At least that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and we're working on building that committee now, actually, since we've sort of done this for the past 3 years already through Homeland Security grant funds. We have a pretty good starting group made up of some of our smaller counties, some of our smaller cities, some of our state agency entities, and working with Kelly and the Digital Office of Digital Teaching and Learning, starting to pull in some of the K through 12 people as well. So once that kind of gets formalized and we figure out what that committee is going to look like, I think it definitely makes sense to make sure we've got all the right people involved.
So we'd love to see how we can partner with you also, Ryan, on that. I think it certainly makes sense.
For sure.
So any other questions or comments for Ryan at this point? So we don't have a lot of time any more time really today, but I would like to, maybe I didn't actually schedule another presentation yet for next week, because I wanted to see where we went with this discussion today. But it seems to me that we need to have a continuing discussion about how we would like to be involved with cybersecurity and address some of the needs and how we feed into Ryan and collaborate with him. So I'm thinking that next week we would continue this discussion unless you all disagree with that. Any thoughts? Okay. So we do have a number of folks, some who were already, Sharika's giving us a thumbs up. Sharika's very involved with that, as are several other people who are on this call. Debbie, you want to take just 2 minutes to tell Ryan what you do? What you're doing with cybersecurity?
Hi, Ryan, how are you? I was a teacher in K-12 at Paradise Valley School District for 20 years, and I started a company. So I was real interested in your discussion. I can staff, are you ready for this? I can staff every single school in Maricopa County with cybersecurity specialists that are college undergrads in technical programs. So
that's amazing.
I think one of the biggest problems education is facing today in STEM education in particular is staffing. Enough problems with finding teachers for regular academic core subjects. STEM education is under a huge crisis, and it has been for many years, and it's not sustainable the way it's sitting. So, and there's lots of attention toward it. Lots of grants, lots of public. You guys are going to go in and train teachers and hope that they stay there. And when they move, all of the training, all of your programs falls right to the ground. On top of which, most teachers in most schools do not have the technical expertise to really grasp all of the subjects and the level that you really want to get out there. You yourself said in the beginning of this conversation that it's hard to find, I forget what your exact words were, the knowledge base for cybersecurity. It's complex. So why not bring in experts, people that are studying this in college, people that this is their major, this is their passion, and as a fix to bring in real technical education into schools, bring in experts. I could go on.
I absolutely agree with you. And actually, Debbie, now that I'm seeing your name, I think we've actually connected before. I think it'd be good to continue the conversation. It's something we've been working with, like the Phoenix Chamber Foundation and their workforce development group. I think we've kind of run in some of the same circles talking about the same conversation. It'd definitely be good to connect again and make sure we're finalizing whatever that looks like.
We won a ton of awards in the last couple of weeks for community impact and education, innovation, and that sort of thing, because we want to bring the talent into the schools. And I have, in my company, I have a young man that just graduated with honors in cybersecurity. And he is actually writing curriculum in our company that we are teaching to 6th and 7th graders right now in after school programs.
That's really cool.
So we want to help. And Kelly, you and I have talked. Is Kelly still on the line? You
Yes,
and I
I'm
have
here.
talked, and I'm actually crashing your town hall meeting today at
I
Kelly.
know. I saw that over the weekend. Happy to have you.
Okay, I'll see you in a couple of hours. We'll talk.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for Ryan today? So again, if it's okay with all of you, I'm going to figure out how we do a continued discussion next week on cybersecurity. So, because I think it's an extended discussion, but an important one. And again, then we can collaborate with Ryan. Ryan, thank you very much for being here this morning and giving people a briefing on what you're doing. And again, we'll continue our discussion with you about how to best collaborate.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you, guys.
Anything else that people need to talk about this morning before we end the meeting and go into kibitzing for anybody who wants to stay online?
Steve, this is Mark. I'll
Yeah, Mark.
just announce the ATIC board meeting, monthly board meeting is this Wednesday at noon, and the notice, agenda, and minutes package will go out tomorrow.
Okay. And Mark, I probably won't be there. I'm going to be on my way to Phoenix, so probably won't be able to join you.
Okay.
Okay. If nothing else, thank you all, and we'll see you next week.